All right, so today's video is about this chainsaw. Got this from a friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine. Said that he was fed up with it because the bolts kept coming loose. And you can see right there, apparently it was the bolt on the muffler that came loose, but something had happened, and I don't know if the muffler came loose, whatever. You can see it melted this hand guard right here. So I'm going to try to take it apart, and we're going to figure out why this is loose and try to correct that. And of course, I'm going to give it a bath, give it a nice, good bath. He also said that this bar is bent or whatever, some damage has occurred. The bar is bent. So I'm going to get a new bar for this. And I would like to try, if I could, to see if I can get a longer one. This is a 20-inch bar. I would like to go to a 24 to 28-inch bar on this. I realize that it's only an MS310, but the logic behind my idea is that I would change over from a full house chain, which is this one right here, where you can see the teeth are very close together, and I would go to what's called a skip tooth chain. So they would eliminate this one here, and so you'd have a tooth here and here and here, which would take less power from the saw and possibly compensate for the extra length on the bar. I'd still have theoretically would still have close to the same number of cutters on the bar, on the chain. The chain would just be longer because the teeth are skip a step. They're not a full house. It'd be what's called a skip tooth chain. So I'm going to go ahead and get it cleaned up, and we will start the process of rehabilitating this saw and getting it back up and running. So you can see the chainsaw is a little cleaner than it was the last time I showed the picture. So my friend said that he had a problem with all the nuts and bolts coming loose on this saw. So as I was cleaning this, when I went to take this side guard off, I noticed that the nuts did not spin off freely like you see here. That's how they should go on and off, just like that. They should just spin right on. Well, the threads were damaged on one or the other, and this stud screwed out with the cover. It was sticking right out here. So it unscrewed from the engine block of the saw and was stuck on here. So I wonder if that might be why they said that the nuts and bolts were coming loose on this machine. This one also was backed out. You'll see there's a little shoulder right here, or a flange. That's supposed to be below this surface here. And this one was proud of the surface, which kind of caused the bar to go out, veer out to the right. So this needed to be tightened back down into the housing. This one just has coarse threads on it like a wood screw might have. So I used a double nut on there, and I got that one screwed down, but I had to run an M8 by 1.25 die over this one, and then I also had to tap the hole in these nuts with a M8 by 1.25 tap. But as I said before, these should spin right on. If they go on any harder than that, then they need to be repaired. Otherwise, you're going to have problems with these too. You can see how nice and clean it is. Everything's clean. And over here, all this has been cleaned up. So today, I'm going to take the muffler off of there. Got a loose fastener right there. So I'm going to see if I can fix that and get this thing back up and running. Muffler's definitely loose. These bolts, they're just a square head bolt. They just slide into a couple slots right here. See that? Interesting. There's something loose inside here. Oh, you know what it is? It's there's a baffle in there that's just flopping around. And then there's a tube that goes down through the holes all the way to the other end for the bolt to fit through. Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. Is this muffler has been bouncing around on there, and it wasn't sealing. That would explain why this is melted up here, possibly. Exhaust gases were going past and just kind of melted this whole thing up. I guess I'm going to look online or go to my local Stihl dealer and see if I can find a new muffler for this thing. I think that's what it needs. It's all just jacked up. All right, we'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can find me a new muffler, and we'll go from there. We got a genuine Stihl original equipment muffler. I looked into the knockoff ones that you get from Amazon and whatnot, and the reviews weren't all that good. They basically said that the problem with the aftermarket one is that the internal parts come loose. And that causes, an issue. So I think that's kind of interesting because the person who I got this from basically said that, he was upset because it seemed like the bolts were always coming loose all the time. What the heck is going on? Why is that? And so maybe that's the reason why he had so much trouble, was because it was an aftermarket muffler that came off of this. Now that one there doesn't seem to. Whoop. What is that? Oh, I see. It appears that one of the bolts is longer. Let's see if these bad boys are all the same length. Those two are the same. Huh, they're all three the same. Let's try it again. Sure looked like they were different lengths. Oh, look at that. Booyah. What I'm talking about. Looks nice. All right. So now I'm going to put the exhaust pipe on there. Like so. The nuts back on. I just tightened those until I felt kind of a sharp rise in the torque. And I think that's going to be it. I think that should do it. I got the 28-inch bar on the saw. Look at that. Oh yeah, very nice. We got the bar on there, and I got the slop. The chain's tight. It's not super tight, but moves along freely. And you can see that it's a skip tooth. Normally there would be a cutter right about here. A 20-inch full house chain should theoretically have about the same number of teeth as a 28-inch skip tooth chain. I've got the new muffler on there. New bar, chain, put the two new studs on there. I think it's going to be good. I think I'll take it outside, fire it off, and see how it works. So I apologize, this is going to be a little shaky, but I took the saw outdoors and I did a test fire of it. and I notice that there's oil leaking out in this area right here, and it's coming from this hole right here. If you can see the tip of my pointer right there, there's a little hole, and there was a plug in it, which is right here, this little guy, and it's all melted, which is causing oil to come up into this area. And the oil that's coming up into this area is supposed to be going out here and coming up through the groove in the bar. I'm gonna see if I can get an OEM plug for that little tiny hole right there. And if not, I'll probably make one, possibly out of a set screw. Just might be able to thread that hole for a 5mm or something and put a set screw in there just to block it off. All it is a passageway that comes up there, and then it intersects with a hole that goes across this plastic housing, and then it comes out over here so that the oil can reach the bar. So this plug here, whoa, oh no, whew, well that was sheer luck, is 5 thousandths under the maximum diameter of that orange plug. The orange one measured 200, well it was kind of egg-shaped, 200 thousandths to about 185 thousandths. So this one is 195 in diameter. But I think I'm going to have to come up with something to be able to load this inside like a drinking straw or something like that, and then be able to hold it, get it down there where I need to be, and then take another instrument and shove it through the straw into that hole. Let's see what I can come up with. All right, so it looks like it's pretty dry around that plug. There's a little film of oil on there just because I wasn't able to wipe all of it before we tried it out, and I didn't spray anything in there to totally degrease it. But it's not running down. Before it was puddled way back in here and stuff, so I'd say that's good. I got some oil splatter on the muffler, you can see. And you can see there's some little bit of sheen on this bracket right here. And then there's also some up on this handguard. You can see a few droplets there. I aimed the saw at this cardboard box on the ground in the video, and you can see I got plenty of oil throw off from the chain. So that's good. And then if you look down here, see how the oil is it's kind of tacky, so you can see it going right there. So we definitely have getting plenty of oil. Got a little bit of drippage or seepage or whatever you want to call it along here. Looks pretty good. I think there's plenty of oil going on the chain. Better to have too much than not enough, and I can always adjust it later. All right, we're going to go a little handheld here. So my friend told me, well, good luck with that thing cutting straight, because he said the handle's all jacked up and the thing won't cut straight and this and that. I thought, well, I'll take a look at it. So I noticed, you see these this is called a buffer, this little rubber spool piece that goes from here to here. It's supposed to have a little plug in it that looks like that. And you see it's got a little ridge on there that helps keep it from coming out. What it also does is when it goes in here, it expands this rubber out into a groove that's molded into the inner diameter of this hole. When you put the plug in there, it makes it impossible to pull this rubber bushing through the housing of the saw. As you can see, that's hooked to the handle that goes around and comes back up over here. You got another one here and another one here. This one, the plug was in it, but the rubber bushing had pulled out of this. I almost think that maybe someone had this apart and they didn't get the bushing far enough into the handle to the spot where the ridge on the plug would expand the bushing into the groove in the handle and hold it in place. So I had to buy another one of these little guys. Bought one of those, and the bushing is in the correct spot. You can see it's down. There's a little bit of a step right there, and that's so that when this is in place, the head is flush with the housing of the saw. It doesn't protrude past the surface. Let's get that put back in there. This should just push right in there pretty easily. And it does for the most part. That last little bit, just going to need a little tappy tap. Okay, that's in place and it's flush. These other ones are flush. I think it's good to go.